Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to this brand new episode of JJ's One Man Podcast. Now, I thought today was going to be chill. I actually did not expect to have a brand new episode of this podcast anytime soon because I was going to get up, going to have some breakfast, chill out for a bit, and then go film my Star Wars Jedi Survivor video review because recently I just finished Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I was looking forward to that. But then guess what happened? Take a wild guess what happened if you didn't already read the title of this video, okay? Kotaku had to Kotaku. It's amazing to me just how crazy and how ridiculous some things can get, and then somehow, some way, by some sheer force of will, Kotaku somehow makes it worse, or makes it that much more goofier and that much more ridiculous. So what the heck am I talking about, okay? Because there's a lot to talk about here. There's a lot of layers to get into, to peel back, but basically, if you haven't already been paying attention to the news on social media, specifically on Twitter, not too long ago, Kotaku came out, or one of the editors at Kotaku, Ethan Gotch, came out and said that Nintendo has blacklisted Kotaku, and he felt that they were unprofessional, that it was all this other stuff. That's neither here nor there. Nobody cares about what Ethan Gotch has to say right now, okay? The main thing is that the big reason why Kotaku was blacklisted by Nintendo was because a while back, a lot of people have pointed out that they published an editorial that was basically promoting piracy. It was basically promoting just downloading and playing Metroid Dread Day 1 or Day 0 via emulator for a Switch game, okay? That's a big problem. Obviously, Nintendo's going to have a big issue with that. Obviously, they're notorious for combating and going after people when it comes to piracy or emulation or misuse of their games. You can feel however you want to feel about that, but that's just the reality of it. That's what it is. Now, here's where we get into today, or late last night, I should say. Basically, Kotaku published an article that was talking about all the stuff that they know right now and a bunch of different things that have been pulled from the leaks for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. If you didn't know, it came out in the news not too long ago as well. Earlier this week, I believe, or even before that, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom just got fully leaked out. People had gotten the game early somehow and dumped the entire game online. And they've been playing it online after getting physical copies of the game for the Nintendo Switch, just putting videos up and putting things here and there. Basically, the entire game and a lot of spoilers leaked out online. Now, while that is what it is, and any media outlet, not just Kotaku, but any news outlet or any other outlet that reports on video games has to cover something like that, there's a way to go about it. You basically just say that the game got leaked out. What you don't do, and what really rubbed people the wrong way and pissed off a lot of Nintendo fans, especially Zelda fans, was that the article that Kotaku had published was getting into a lot of spoilery stuff. Not necessarily too much of the story stuff here and there, but a lot of spoilery things about the game itself, about how the game plays, how it is, and all these other stuff that you would not find in a preview. Because believe it or not, there have been previews of Tears of the Kingdom that have gone up over the last couple weeks that various outlets were able to go to Nintendo or get a copy of the game and be able to preview it. But this was beyond that because Kotaku and the editors at Kotaku did not get early access to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. They basically just dumped a whole bunch of stuff that they pulled from the leaks that have been shared on social media and from the actual leaks of videos itself. They put it all into one editorial and published it. So yeah, people are pretty pissed at Kotaku right now. Now, the other thing, too, that we have to understand, and hold on, let me take a sip of this coffee, because there's so much to get in with this stuff, right? The crazy thing about all this, outside of the ethical dilemma and the ethical debate about doing something like this, personally for me, from my perspective, if I was them, I would have never published something like this. Because if you notice, a lot of other outlets out there, including the big ones like IGN, like Polygon, like, Waypoint's not here anymore, but Rock, Paper, Shotgun, and many other different outlets that cover games did not publish something like this. Because you could argue and you could debate all you want about how these leaks and all this stuff is out there in the public. It's fair game. But if you want to talk about true ethics in journalism or ethics in covering any sort of entertainment medium, okay, you have to be able to restrain yourself when something like that happens, because really what you're doing at that point is that you're just getting into spoilers. You're not even reporting on news. You're just putting together spoilers for people in one spot, which is all types of wrong for a lot of different reasons. It's just an asshole thing to do overall. I think most of us, even listening to this now, when you're hanging out and listening to me talk, you could agree with me on that it's just pretty much an asshole thing to do. And in my personal opinion, when you're talking about the journalism aspect of it, ethically it's wrong and morally it's wrong. because you're not reporting on news. You're just getting a whole bunch of spoilers and putting it into one spot. But what makes all of this so much more worse, and the fact that it is because of Kotaku themselves, is that it looked like to me, from how everything had played out ever since that tweet got put out there by Ethan Gotch, because it was written by Ethan Gotch, believe it or not, funny enough, this seems to me like it was published out of spite. And it just looks wrong. Every single person that I saw on Twitter right now, I'm even looking at it right now as I'm recording this podcast, because it's still up, that everybody that was replying and commenting on Kotaku's post on Twitter was basically saying like, yo, what the hell is the matter with you guys? Like, not so long ago, you guys were complaining about how you were blacklisted by Nintendo for not being able to cover The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. But now you're going to go and do this, and now you're going to still complain about being blacklisted by this company? I mean, it's just everybody. I'm looking at this. I'm seeing people that I'm connected with, some of my mutuals. I'm seeing other media outlet people cover it or go into the comments or go into the replies and like comment on this. One of them actually worked for Twinfinite that I see is like, you cry about Nintendo's professionalism, then decide to publish this. Who's truly the unprofessional one here? And it's totally true. And I even replied there and I said, ditto on that. Very poor move by them. Nobody over there can complain about being blacklisted or not getting access to stuff after doing something like this. The article feels like it was published out of spite, which it totally does feel like it was. Now, here's the other thing too. And again, you could go find this on Twitter right now. There are so many replies in here that I'm just scrolling now as I talk. I'm seeing all these people be like, yo, like, what the hell's the matter with you? I'm even seeing cosplayers that do Nintendo stuff in here, like talking about this. People that I know. And other people that are like YouTubers and content creators. There's always going to be content creators that like to take jabs at the larger outlets. But then you start seeing some other larger ones that don't do something like this. That I'm seeing now just like be mad, and justifiably so. But this is really where I get into the stuff that nobody's talking about with this. Because what I did, being the media person that I am, and being as diligent and as real as I am, I went and actually looked at what some of the other Kotaku editors were saying about this. Because it wasn't just Ethan Gotch that published this thing, right? You had the conversation going with other Kotaku editors, because you could actually go on Kotaku's website and see all the people that work there. The editor-in-chief, the managing editor, the senior editors, the senior writers, staff writers, etc. They're all there, and they all have their Twitters published on there that you could actually go and see what they're saying. So I looked to see what they were saying about this. And I'm going to tell you right now, the reason why people dislike Kotaku often is not solely just because of what they publish, which is in of itself a problem most of the time. But it's the attitudes that these writers and the people on staff display on social media for the public to see. It's this obnoxious attitude and holier-than-thou attitude that they just have towards the audience. And it's not just their audience, but really the gaming community or the greater gaming community as a whole. I mean, you want to talk about messed up. So Luke Plunkett, okay, I'm naming names at this point. We're getting into names because this stuff is public and you guys could go see it. I don't want to hear nothing about, oh, you're encouraging others to go after people and stuff. No, I'm not doing that. I'm just reading and telling y'all exactly what's out there, okay? Clearly, how people react is not my problem, and it shouldn't be anybody else's problem, but the people that are kind of reap the consequences of their actions. I'm not encouraging people to go do something, but I'm just telling you what's up, right? So Luke Plunkett goes on Twitter and publishes a bunch of posts, in response to a lot of the problems that people are bringing up and a lot of the backlash. And what does he do? He basically comes out and says, again, you could go read it yourself, but he's basically saying like he doesn't care that Nintendo blacklisted him because so many outlets have blacklisted Kotaku, but also just taking jabs at the people that are reacting to the fact that spoilers are being published on their website. It's like, how can you not be like so understanding or have any sort of like complete like cognitive dissonance and just separation and completely out of touch with your audience, let alone the gaming community, which, technically is your audience at Kotaku and not just yours, but like all these big outlets' audience. How can you be so removed from them and just like not get and not have any sort of empathy for how people are reacting here? Because let alone Kotaku should have never published that article, but now you're just going to completely just poke at the bear and poke and jab at everybody right now who's pissed off. And then you expect to have any sort of sympathy or empathy there? The other thing too, outside of that, and we'll get to the others, but really even with Luke's post, like he just posted like this whole World War II, like really suspect looking thing. Like I feel like what he's saying and what he's implying here, I think is like not cool. I think that, at this point, when you start getting and start seeing a backlash from people about how you actually conduct yourself on social media and stuff, you kind of can't have any empathy for Luke Plunkett because like it's almost self-inflicted at this point. I'm not going to repeat exactly what I'm looking at right now, and it's on there right now. You guys could go find it. But it's just, it's something that it implies a certain thing that I feel like is not helping the matter for any of their staff, but also it's just such a far extreme to take a jab at people over something which, by the way, really shouldn't be that much of a big deal, especially with how it was really Kotaku's fault for getting into this in the first place. But it's so crazy to me how a lot of these people could call foul on the audience or on the reactions on social media and publish something like what I'm looking at right now. Again, not going to repeat what exactly it is. You could see it for yourself, but I'll tell you right now, this type of attitude from people like Luke Plunkett who work over there, who are on the senior staff and stuff, really need to take a step back and really check themselves or really look in the mirror and try to like figure out why is it that people are just coming at them the way they are. And it's probably because of BS like this. Now, that's just one person, but then you start going and looking at some of the other stuff, even related to the previous Nintendo post, which was the original post that Ethan Gotch had put out about Kotaku being blacklisted, right? So the other thing about this, like I'll go to Patricia Hernandez's Twitter account. She's the editor-in-chief of Kotaku. I'll go to Carolyn Petit's Twitter account and look at some of the stuff that they're saying. And it's like, not only are they taking jabs at the audience, the people that are Nintendo fans that are upset, but they're also taking jabs at other journalists and other media people that are responding and commenting about what they've been doing. It's like, you want to come on and call people like all these names or imply like they're trying to get into like corporate propaganda and all this stuff, which you could argue here and there that some people just while out and just roll for Nintendo over the dumbest reasons irrationally at times. There's a conversation to be had there. But like, I don't think this is one of those conversations. I think that people are just upset and kind of, really just kind of tired and done with the obnoxious actions and attitude from Kotaku and its staff. Like, even Carolyn Petit out here is just coming out saying, sure, a lot of people who just want video game journalism to be corporate propaganda. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's implying that. What people are tired of is seeing like actions like this that just seem like they're done out of pure spite and done out of pure malice, as opposed to actually trying to actually inform their audience, the gaming audience, and be fair. More than anything else. I think people are tired of like all this other stuff. And then even right afterwards, her tweet is like, and some of them work as games journalists. It was like, really, that's how you're going to take a jab at your colleagues? And let alone you're not even going to tag, you're not even going to have the conversation. It feels like high school, high school nonsense. Like, I'm not saying nothing about a particular person, but there is those people out there who do such and such. It's like, come on now. You're working for a game outlet. You have a job doing this stuff. Show some maturity. Show some dignity, for God's sakes. And then don't complain afterwards when everybody comes at you. You know what I mean? Like, it's just silly to me. And then we got Patricia Hernandez, the same thing, which I've been critical of Patricia Hernandez ever since she's taken over as editor-in-chief at Kotaku. I don't go after people. I don't like say malicious or like nasty stuff about people and stuff, but I am critical and I am fair with my statements about how I feel like the way that whole website has been run for a while, since even before she took over as editor-in-chief, has been really not cool. Has really just kind of been like, weird and just awkward and like not good. There's just many examples of different articles that have been published on Kotaku from various writers, not just a few select ones, but like a bunch of different ones that you could point to and be like, look, like you guys are like just going after people maliciously, taking jabs at either individuals or companies, not even getting your details right, which sometimes I don't even understand like how certain things get published and not get fact checked or not get like looked over multiple times. I mean, you guys have multiple editors over there. Like, how are you guys going to publish something and then have like somebody's title wrong when they worked at a certain company, have it completely wrong and stuff? It's like, really? And then on top of that, you're going to take jabs at them? Like, come on now. As editor-in-chief over there, you should be looking for stuff like this and making sure that your people are doing their jobs. At least that's how I was taught. I know that different job positions at various websites have different responsibilities and everybody's got their own stuff to deal with. I get it. But also keep in mind, if you're the editor-in-chief of that outlet, that's the outlet you're representing. That's your team. That your name is connected with that. So anything that goes wrong or anything that goes sideways is also partially your responsibility too, as someone that's like overseeing a lot of this stuff. Not trying to tell her how to do her job, but like these are things that I notice. And if I'm not the only one out here that's feeling that way, I'm pretty sure there's many other people that feel very similar. Whether it's right or wrong, that's the impression and that's the vibe we're getting. So when I see stuff like all of this, and the way that certain editors conduct themselves over social media, including Patricia Hernandez, in this case, with a lot of the Nintendo stuff before even the spoiler article went out. It's like, come on now. Like, come on, like you can't just, be feeling a certain type of way when a lot of this stuff is self-inflicted. Like I keep going back to, it's just annoying. It's like sad to see. It's just ridiculous. And then there's no sense of like responsibility taken. It's always battling with people, always writing it off as like certain people in the audience are like these bigoted individuals, which is not always the case. Like, you're really going to tell me, like, a lot of the people that I'm seeing that have been putting out tweets, about this Zelda leak article that just basically compiles everything, right? You're going to tell me that all those people, especially those that work in the industry, they're all bigots? They're all, like, written off as just, like, nasty individuals that don't matter? Really? Some of these people have, like, thousands upon thousands of followers that are either YouTube content creators or other journalists that write for different various websites. Big websites, by the way. You really just going to say that about them? You were really just going to like ignore the fact is like, yo, everybody's got a legit point here of like how like this probably shouldn't have been done, let alone the Metroid Dread article with the emulator shouldn't have been done, which, by the way, that kept getting brought up, obviously, because that was the reason why Kotaku was blacklisted by Nintendo in the first place. But the reasoning and the mental gymnastics that you see, not just from the Kotaku editors and the staff writers that are over there, but also some of the other people that are their friends, clearly their friends that they interact with on the daily, over social media or in person and stuff, that are just like giving all these excuses for like some of this crazy, crappy stuff. I mean, if I feel like a certain thing that was published is wrong or immoral, and another person that works at like this other outlet that's just as big as Kotaku is feeling the same thing. On top of that, another YouTube content creator that's probably got 1 million subs feeling the exact same way, that probably doesn't get into any of this stuff. Maybe you might want to take a step back and look over everything and maybe not write it off and then throw it out there on social media for engagement. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on. Like, here's one over here. This was done by Player Essence. He had one of the bigger tweets, right? He goes, a Kotaku senior editor recently complained about being blacklisted by Nintendo of America pre-release coverage. So in retaliation, they decided to publish leaks for Tears of the Kingdom. Unprofessional and insanely petty of them. Clown website with clown editors. And you know something? He's kind of right. It gets harder and harder not to look at things like that, especially when you start seeing all the stuff that they publish, but also seeing all the attitudes that they put on full display. I didn't even get into Ethan Gotch's Twitter, which is, again, between that tweet before and some of the other stuff I've seen in the past, it's like literally crazy, man. This whole thing with the spoilers for Tears of the Kingdom, this isn't really doing something that's a good thing for the audience. This isn't doing something that's like, trying to be like a legit, like, well-established media outlet or press. This isn't about like freedom of speech. This isn't about freedom of press or anything else. This is about what's morally right and what's morally wrong. And honestly, no matter how much you want to talk about ethics in journalism, no matter how much you want to talk about ethics in the games industry, or like what's legit and what people are just making a big deal about it for no reason and stuff, publishing a bunch of spoilers for a game that has not come out yet, way in advance, because we got a while. I think it's May 12th or somewhere in May, like mid-May, that Tears of the Kingdom comes out. It's very soon. It's like in the next like week and a half to 2 weeks. It's still a week and a half to 2 weeks prior to the game coming out. You're publishing all that into one spot on a major media outlet where it has like thousands upon thousands of readers, apparently, quote unquote. You see what I'm saying? Like, it gets harder and harder to not have that outlook. And that sucks. Again, it gets harder and harder to have that outlook, and it gets harder and harder to have empathy or any sort of like sympathy for the way that people look at Kotaku or their editors at times. And then that's not even getting to many of the others that are out there on social media that I'm seeing a lot of people like just, again, a lot of these individuals just have crappy attitudes, just really, really crappy attitudes. And it's like, man, don't be mad when everybody doesn't have any sort of sympathy if something happens to your website. Because there's a lot of outlets right now that have been going bankrupt, that have been getting sold off. They're getting like putting a bunch of layoffs, which is not good, which is horrible. I have a real strong feeling and a lot of like empathy for many of the people that lost their jobs and stuff like that. But you're going to see a lack of that type of emotion for places like Kotaku or others that have had these people that have just been acting like this for the longest time. And not a lot of people are going to be feeling, any sort of like, good vibes for you. They're not going to wish you well on your future endeavors. Let me put it that way. You could be mad about that all you want. You could get upset about me saying something like that. Hell, you could even threaten someone like me, by just like saying like, oh, we're not going to work with you. We're not going to talk to you and all this stuff. But hey, that's the majority of people out there. And that's all stemming from your own obnoxious attitude. So anyway, I know that's a lot to get into. There's a whole bunch of stuff beyond that. This is a conversation I feel like is going to be around for a while because not just because of Tears of the Kingdom, but also because I feel like people have been talking about similar things to this, for a long time in relation to Kotaku. And it's not just them, it's many other different websites that people tend to complain about, but Kotaku's the big one that people are like, look, we're just kind of like done with your nonsense. We're kind of just done with your crappy attitude. We're done with all this stupidity. Like, it feels like stupidity and immaturity. But I digress, though. Let me know some of your thoughts about all this stuff in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about Kotaku? What do you guys think about, Kotaku publishing The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom spoilers? Are you going to be playing The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom? Talk to me about all that stuff down below in the comment section. And please do, if anything, try to keep it respectful if you guys can. Let's show a little bit of some class, which might be lacking at Kotaku, but that doesn't mean that we can't show some class, and keep the conversation going, but be mature about it, be dignified about it, and all that jazz. Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you guys can. Keep an eye out on the channel. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, because I got my Star Wars Jedi Survivor review coming very soon. I got other content as well that's going up on the channel that I know you're going to love. And make sure you guys also check out both the Discord server, which is linked in the description box. You could join up. It's for free. Everybody could come be part of the Discord server and talk games. And go check out my Patreon as well. For $1 a month, you guys get a bunch of exclusive content, early access, and a whole bunch of other great perks that I know that you'll love. With that being said, I will talk to all of you again very soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.